Hello and welcome. My name is Becca Stevens. That is Nathan Schram. And we are here to celebrate a Grammy nomination. Nathan is woohoo! Nathan is a Grammy award-winning violist and a Grammy-nominated arranger. And today we're going to be talking about his arrangement of a song off of our record together, which is called Becca Stevens' Attacca Quartet, and the song is called 2 + 2 = 5. I'm sorry, Nathan, you look great, but I don't feel like you're quite ready for this interview. Let me just jump in my car real quick. I'm going to bring you something. Can you hold on one second? Coming to your office.
Yeah, sure. I guess we'll be talking for a while because Becca drives really fast.
Hey.
Hey, what's?
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
just thought you might.
Oh, you know, I was looking for something just like this.
Yeah.
I was like, what if there's a sweater that captured both the holiday spirit and grandmas?
There's one more thing. Oh, it looks like it's hiding behind. Oh, here we go. I just feel like.
Oh yeah, that's better. Oh, okay. Okay. Becca just
Sorry,
got a
I'm
little
late. I just
testy.
had to park the car. All right.
That's how she was so fast.
Take it away, Nathan Schram.
Hey, so we're here to talk about this arrangement that I kind of started, and then Becca made it really good. Hence why we're both nominated for the nomination, the award. Thought I could go through, show you the score. First of all, I wanted to share the audio, but you know how if we put this on YouTube, it might get pulled down for some BS reason, even though it'll be on the channel of the label that put it out. But I'll share the score, and I
GroundUP music. Whoop whoop.
GroundUP music, yes. Yeah, they released a bunch of great records, and we're very excited to be on this label with this record. So I'll show you a little bit of the score, show you what I think is cool about it. Hopefully Becca will ask some questions about, or sorry, include her thoughts about what she thinks is cool about it. And yeah, we'll take any questions in the comments too, because it'd be great to hear what other people think about this arrangement. Yeah, with that said, yeah, first of all, if you haven't heard the song, pause this video right now and go listen to it, either on a streaming platform or you can hear a really cool live version on YouTube on this very same GroundUP channel. So press pause now. You can find the pause button here, or you can find the link here, or you can, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's going to work. Just pause it and look for 2 + 2 = 5, Becca Stevens Attacca Quartet, and you'll find it. It's really great. So we'll wait for you while you listen. Great. So I hope that was really stunning for you, and you'll consider voting for us in this year's Grammy Award ceremony. But yeah, let's jump to the score and let's take a look at what it looks like. It's really just four string parts. So it sounds like it's sometimes it sounds a little more crazy than it is. But here we go. Starts off with a little smack into the fingerboard. I did this arrangement a long time ago when I was experimenting with a lot of string effects that weren't. You know, I wanted to sound cool like a rock band and not just kind of play pretty like, what's that show that does pop arrangements? Hampton? Help me out, Becca.
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton.
I almost said Hamilton.
That's pretty close. So I basically was just trying to start off with kind of, I know in the original recording, like, I think the first sounds are like literally Johnny Greenwood plugging in his 1/4-inch guitar cable into the amp, and you get this kind of clicky thing. And then it's I believe they count off. It's actually been a while since I've heard the original. So I just kind of did I wanted to be cool and pretend like this is how string quartets start, like without 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we do some percussive stuff, which I think is kind of cool too. This is back to where I was experimenting with viola stuff. So I don't actually play viola for real kind of ever in this arrangement. But here I'm just kind of doing this 7/8. Gradually getting to kind of being the guitar part. And so that's kind of the backbone. I was going to kind of transcribe exactly what Johnny plays in the beginning, but um, yeah, I just wanted it to be kind of as much of a quartet piece as possible, and not just kind of imitating whatever Radiohead did. Even though I imitate Radiohead a lot, um, all the time, because it's their song. You know, that's what you do. So yeah, moving along, we have Becca come in. I didn't notate Becca's voice very well because she is such an incredible singer and has a way of capturing all the nuance of the original while also adding her own thing. So this is really just kind of a framework.
And let's be honest, I wasn't going to read it anyway.
Very true. Very, very true. And so basically I use the violins kind of as like backup vocals. So either like kind of in the same range or slightly different, like in harmony and stuff, and kind of have them introduced. A lot of them are following what Tom York's voice actually does, but in a kind of slightly subtly different ways. Oh, and I forgot this one little thing that I can't even remember if it's in the score, and I kind of regret doing. I said sparse creakings with bow here, which is like, I don't know. I want it to be kind of spooky for better or worse, and so there's this other technique you can do where you kind of do this with your bow and make these kind of eerie sounds, just because I wanted some. I don't know if this is considered vibe or not, but it's kind of weird. I don't know if you guys can see this. You can kind of like play with the hair on the back, and it makes some weird sounds. So that's kind of what you're hearing. It's not interference or someone like filming a mouse chewing through a wall. It's more strings. So yeah, keep those questions coming. We're excited to answer the questions in the comments, and that way I won't have to just meander through this saying whatever comes to mind. Yeah, Cello's doing some cool stuff, just kind of laying down the bass line. I can't remember what Andrew ended up doing. Initially, I wanted this to be kind of like, let me see if I can see myself here. I'm even missing it. But basically flicking the string. Pizzicato is usually plucking, and I wanted it to be kind of weird because a lot of what I do, I just try to make weird. I can't really do it in rhythm, but in the end, I think we ended up just doing regular pizzicato because we just wanted it to be rock solid. But I can't remember if we ended up doing that in the recording or not. Anyways, yada yada yada. The world is ending. Becca's sounding beautiful. The strings are just kind of coloring the environment. I start doing this strumming thing, which I kind of notated here. This chicka chick, chicka chicka chick, chicka chicka chick, chicka chick. And we have our first question from the one and only Becca Stevens.
I have a question. You mentioned the world ending, and I was curious about your take on the lyrics of this song.
Yeah, I know. I know that this, like, the origin of this whole album comes from like Tom York. It was basically, I think it was right after. It was like the years after September 11th when there was all this like kind of heavy fear mongering about the world ending and all this everything going wrong, and kind of general paranoia in the West because all of a sudden we were vulnerable for the first time instead of always being the aggressor in world politics and world geopolitical situations. And he started just listening to the radio and just writing down words that came to mind that were weird, creepy, that seemed odd. And actually, if you look at the Hail to the Thief album cover, it's basically, I believe it's like a map of New York, or maybe that's a poster that you pull out, and it's just words kind of like designed almost as if it's a city. And these are all words that he just like thought captured the paranoia. And so I think this song really is the thesis of the album. This idea of like, if you believe in the lies, 2 + 2 = 5. You'll also believe that the world is falling apart and crashing down. And this is kind of his like the fantasy world, I think, of where if all that BS that he heard is true, this is what's going to happen. And ultimately, here we are. I don't know 15 years later, and we're still around. Who knows for much longer or not? But yeah, that's kind of my take. What about you, Becca?
I would get behind all of that, and I saw several times in the comments of our live video of this song of people feeling like it was referencing 1984
For sure.
And yeah, it's totally possible. I've not done my research as much as you have, but I like your your take on, the first lyric is, "Are you such a dreamer to put the world to rights? I'll stay home forever where two and two always makes a five." So this, idea of sort of like putting your pillow over your head and just believing what you're fed rather than kind of going out and figuring out what's really going on. So
Yeah, and I feel like this was like in a lot of ways, Tom York and Radiohead always seem to be a little bit ahead of the curve of what the general social understanding is of our social interactions. Like, I feel like this stuff is all talking about the social bubbles we're all in, and uh, something that we now understand, and we're like, people fight against it and they're trying to get themselves out of their comfort zones. But at this time, when social media was just arising and we were just kind of listening to the news because that's just what you listen to and those are your main sources, they were very aware that that we were all living in these bubbles. And I remember that actually after September 11th, and when you kind of had this kind of beautiful patriotism, but also a little bit washed with unbalanced opinions of what the world is going through and what part of it we played in. And I think it's going into that a lot.
and believe it or not, this album came out on June 9th, 2003. So
Yeah.
almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, and so I think, and
Crazy.
I remember reading that they recorded it really quickly in L.A., like in 2 weeks or something. And but I know that, I mean, that means, we all know how long it takes for a record to come out. So that's basically like 2.5 years after September 11th, and you can imagine, or maybe even, but actually less than 2 years, and you can imagine how quickly that rhetoric entered their writing process and was recorded before. I don't know. It's a shorter time span than actually, from September 11th to that release. There's actually, a smaller window they were able to write that music.
Wikipedia says songwriter Tom York wrote lyrics influenced by the unfolding war on terror and the surrounding political discourse, incorporating influences from fairy tales and children's literature. The cover artwork created by artist Stanley Donwood is a roadmap of Hollywood with words taken from roadside advertising in Los Angeles and from York's lyrics. And you're getting some background vocals here from Willamette. Do you want another highlighter to play with?
Yeah, good question. I think sometimes as a instrumentalist, I get so dug into just the textures and the sound, and it's what intrigues me that I forget about the bigger picture sometimes in the lyrics and about like what the real point of it is. And I think that's what makes this song so great, is that even if you don't listen to any of the lyrics, you kind of somehow know what it is because the music speaks so clearly to this message. Yeah,
Well, I have so many more questions for you, but I'll let you get back to the score.
Yeah, let's just kind of roll through this because I don't know how much time people have to listen to a arrangement analysis of just one of the best songs ever written. Basically, one of the first kind of like shaky moments where you feel. I think one of this idea of like lies and unsettling territory happens a lot, both harmonically and rhythmically throughout this song, which is I think what is so beautiful. What I was talking about, where like the music really feeds into the message of the lyrics and the message of the song. So right here at letter C, this is it's the devil's way out now. See, my lyrics aren't great, but this is where it kind of breaks down. So we're in 7/8, kind of unstable. This 4/4 that you'll see in the arrangement is kind of just an approximation because it gets really loose in this moment, transferring between 7/8 to 4/4. And then even when we land in 4/4 in the song, it's not really that stable. And this is something that I tried to bring out with the arrangement, even though the song does it already. You'll see these triplets in the violin and viola that kind of go. But instead of making it really clear like that, I did this technique called circle bow, which also, like in 2003, used to be really cool and unknown, but is now kind of popular. But you go like this. So get this like super washy, like kind of loose rhythmic content that I think it still has a pulse, but you're like, it doesn't feel like it's in 4/4. It kind of feels like it's in 6/8, and then the violin's going. Kind of really kind of outlining the 4/4 with eighth notes, but that's kind of hidden and it's like textural. So you kind of just are in this wash of rhythm, not really knowing where you are. And then the cello's up high doing the melody with Becca. So actually, I think it's. So also like kind of this sul ponticello, a lot of harmonics, like harsh sounds that just kind of are just really one for one with Becca's voice, just to kind of color it almost like an effects pedal would on Tom York's voice or something like that. And this.
So would you say that you're the inventor of the circle bow, since you put it in your score in 2003?
No, it just wasn't like, I feel like now it's being taught at like conservatories, whereas before it was like a few people were doing it. And basically, it's for me, it's such a cool stroke that if once you hear it, you're like, oh, I need to learn how to do it. And it's really easy.
Can I tell people you invented it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
That's fine, as long as I don't say it. But I definitely didn't. There's this guy, Garth Knox, who's a really cool violist that's been around for years, that has written like whole etudes with this technique, and he does all these really cool rhythmic things where he'll be like. So, yeah, you can do all sorts of cool stuff. But, yeah, he did it first. Anyways, then finally at E, you drop into the super rocking 4/4, where I think is basically where the, because you've not been paying attention, this is where it's like when those conspiracy theorists that are really angry that nobody's listening, the world is ending. It's that kind of thing. And basically, I just tried to write the hardest rocking music possible. This. This is kind of the backbone of it. Then you have the cello going dong 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 dong, basic baseline stuff, and then the second violin is carrying over this. Kind of a super loud version of this circle bow to kind of carry over, and then the violin in octaves. Because da da do da da da, again outlining the voice. Yeah, and actually this arrangement originally was meant to be played with no voice, so the idea is that all the vocal stuff is also in the string parts at any moment. Yeah, and then it basically just rocks out until the end, when it just goes crazy. There's a nice little viola solo at the end, which
I want to hear the viola solo.
I'm
That's my favorite part.
Trying to mimic one of my musical heroes, Johnny Greenwood, as much as possible, who I heard started music on viola. So hopefully he hears this and gets really excited about it. And then I go into the voice mode, and then at the end I just kind of go as crazy as possible, similar to a lot of Johnny Greenwood solos. And that's how the song ends, which you'll know because you just listened to the song. And you can see that actually that little solo crazy thing is a little bit improvised. I don't actually play it in the score. I'm still kind of mimicking what Becca does, but just as like really wild background harmonies where I'm just doing the widest vibrato, the loudest playing possible. It's the kind of playing that no viola teacher would ever want me to do, but I think this kind of loss of control is just one of my favorite things to do on the instrument. And so hearing it alone with just me doing it sounds kind of ridiculous, but I think in the recording it sounds really just like you're barely holding your shit together.
It's so awesome to see all these ways that you are redefining what as in your words, what the viola for real is supposed to do and what string playing for real is supposed to be like. I prefer this. I think it's so
Yeah.
rocking, and as I've said many times, this is probably my favorite arrangement from that record to perform, just because I completely lose myself in the arrangement. Um it feels like it has the excitement and the weight of singing with a like a rocking rhythm section, but then with the textures and the eeriness and the otherworldliness of hearing it performed by strings. It gives me chills every time. I love this arrangement so much.
Yeah, well, you make it great also. I mean, I remember the first time, actually, a cool story about this arrangement is the first time I ever played with Becca, and the first time I ever met Becca, we were doing a concert of string quartet music and her music, and I said, hey, do you like Radiohead? And she's like, oh, yeah, duh. And, uh, and I was like, I have this arrangement of 2 + 2 = 5. It wasn't meant to have a voice, but it'd be cool if you want to try it. And she's like, yeah, totally. Which was just not what I'm used to in the classical world, where it's like, I don't know, it's not in the contract. I didn't practice it. Um, and I thought that was so cool. She just kind of listened to it on her phone, which used to look like this, um, and uh, and she and she just sang it. I mean, obviously she knew the song already, but and she just made it come to life in a way that was so much bigger and better than what just strings alone could do.
But your original version of this, so you probably wrote this back in, I don't know, at least 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah,
Your
shout out to
original.
Sam Adams, who this is my first transcription project ever, basically, because I looked up chord charts for it, and I was like, these chords sound stupid. This isn't what the music does. And as a classical musician, you're not kind of trained to do transcription like the jazz world is, uh, which is horrible. If you're a classical musician listening to this, go transcribe whatever you can find, and it will make you like a 10,000 times better musician. And I remember trying to figure out some of the chords, and that's when I first learned about tritone substitutions and stuff because they're all over this piece. And I remember Sam was just like, "Oh, this piece is cool." I'm like, "Yeah, but what is it? What's happening?" And he kind of helped me, and so that was a really fun. He used to be a roommate of mine, great composer, also.
So you wrote it back then, and then you brought it to this mainly Mozart festival that we were doing together. And after that point, do you feel like it continued to? Sorry, I'm tearing up sheets of paper and handing them to Wilmea. Do you feel like it evolved over time? Like,
Totally.
can you say anything to the process of sort of like staying open as an arranger and letting things evolve?
Yeah, it's funny. All the things I wanted to change, people would just be like, "No, it's fine. Just leave that." But a lot of rhythmic stuff. I mean, I think sometimes certain rhythmic ideas didn't work as well. Like, kind of you'd play it a few times and you'd be like, "Yeah, this part always like kind of dropped the ball here," and like for whatever reason, the groove kind of drops, and so we figure out ways to make it stronger and better. And it's a fun goal because in some ways I feel like the most creative work I do is on arrangements because you're not worried about being like, oh, is this really who I am? Is this speaking to like the message I want to bring in the world? You're like, no, the artistry is kind of already done. I just get to be as creative as possible, and my goal is just to make it feel really good, really strong. And so that was always fun, like going into this, not being like, oh, I'm embarrassed about this chord. It was just like, why didn't this hit super hard? How can we make it hit harder? And so there's definitely moments where we're constantly. I was even. I'm still. 10 minutes ago, I was working on the score, changing the harmonies in the violin part in the beginning because I've never been satisfied with them, and I've always been searching for how to make that a little bit clearer, cleaner, more solid, more like a fixed unit. So yeah, it's always changing. In fact, I was looking on my computer and I saw like 18 versions of it, and I was like, well, which one do I work from?
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to this video premiering and watching it alongside whoever comes and writes tons of questions in the chat so that we can answer questions there as well. And you have anything else that you want to say about February 5th or this record,
Yeah,
Becca
I mean,
Stevens
this
Attacca
is
Quartet?
as you probably have figured out, Becca and I are married. We've been together. We have a child together. Like to be nominated for the same award, uh, as arrangers together is a real special privilege, and we're really honored to have that together. Also, my whole quartet's going to be going for another nomination, which is really exciting. So. But also everyone in the arranging category. I think Becca just started a text thread with every single nominee because she knows them all so well and personally. So it's kind of an honor just to be in the same group as like Lewis Cole, Jacob Collier, Vince Mendoza, Cecilia McLaurin Salvant. and I'm forgetting one other person.
That's it. It's
That's it. I mean, it's
the
just
five
like
of us.
it's the
Yeah.
coolest group of people I've ever been associated with, and so it's a real honor just to be in that list of names with my wife. And you know, if you vote, I'd love for you to consider us, but really more than anything, I'd love for you just to listen to this music, listen to the rest of this album. I think it's a beautiful album. It's also the kind of the story about how Becca and I got together, and it's just I think it's amazing music, and I think it's some of my favorite recordings I've ever made. So yeah, go listen to the music. That would be my greatest Christmas wish I could ask for.
Amen to that. And shout out to GroundUP Music. We love you. Thank you for believing in this project and putting it out, and being patient with it, getting behind it, and inspiring us to make this video for you. We love you, GroundUP. I love you, Nathan, and I love this arrangement. Thank you for asking me to sing it 8 years ago.
Yeah, and thank you also to Attacca Quartet, who I haven't even shouted out for actually making my arrangement sound so good.
Andrew
Played,
Yee, Amy Schroeder, Dominic Salerni. We love you, Keiko Takunaga. We love you all, and we'll see you at the Grammys.
yeah, see you there.
All
Thanks for
right.
listening.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
Bye bye.